with everybody else. So it's like it feeds on itself. I do think that there, like certain evenings, they just have certain themes. It might be romance, it might be, psychological growth. It could be a whole lot of things.
Yeah.
But that theme tends to happen. Bill, wouldn't you say that's true, that you tend to see this kind of cluster around the same kind of thing, even though it seems like it shouldn't? It almost invariably, that's the way it works.
It truly does. It just seems as though the energy is at work that night. And the people that are calling in, even though they're not the same questions, it's that commonality of, we used to look at each other and go, hey, we got a theme going
Exactly.
here.
Yeah, I mean, the questions could be totally off topic, but the reading always seems to kind of switch, which I think is amazing.
Yeah, I think that's true. Because, and I'll talk about it. I go, well, it's like the theme for today. And as the three of us know, people are looking for different things when they call in. And sometimes the types of calls, and in a way the mindset of the callers, they seem to run in streaks, it seems. Mm-hmm. And I think that there is a divine hand. I don't think everything is pretty well, personally. I think there is a sort of a hand stirring the pot a bit. I'm not smart enough to know exactly how that works or why it works, but that's my opinion, that it does work that way. Mm-hmm. And I think that shows do have their own rhythm. I think they sort of magnetize a kind of a come and go that's very interesting, I think.
I think so.
I think the personalities of the people who are the psychics, the psychic and the host themselves, they either rev each other up in a positive way or they sort of neutralize one another. I think that all that together, it kind of blends in a way, and it's really fascinating. That's why I think Wheel of Psychic is kind of interesting, because you do sit back and you do kind of observe what's going on in a different way, I think, than any other. And Belle, would you say that's true? It's a different style for us, to have that time. We know we're sort of in time out. And we're just kicking back and we're listening to what's going on. It's really kind of interesting, I think. On the psychic side, it's really interesting.
And what's amazing, too, Andrew, is that, excuse me, each caller that we get, whether it's for you or whether it's for me or Allie, those calls seem, I don't know how to explain it. It seems to fit our expertise. The caller that lands on our name, it seems to fit where our expertise lies. And that's divine.
Yeah. What's funny is, I make kind of a big deal that I don't want to be a medium. I say I'm an extra large or whatever. I'm not a medium. I don't want to do mediumship. But, and I know Allie was laughing at me because the first show I did, every single one was, can you talk to Aunt Petunia? What's happening with Grandma Jones? And, so, I did it. And, I can go there if I need to go there. Really, that's more, you're better at that, and Allie's better at that than I, because that's more the style in which you're.
Whoops, I think we lost Andrew. Did we lose him?
Oops, I unmuted myself. I think we did.
Let's try getting him back really quick here.
Yes. He's on a cell phone, folks, because he is traveling. He's currently in Nashville, Tennessee, and he commented that he was doing the 20-year-old thing where, he's backpack on his back and just goes where the wind blows him.
And apparently blew him right off the phone.
Yeah.
Okay,
it happens whenever we get a bunch of psychics.
You get a bunch of psychics on, I'm telling you, the energy.
We blow the network.
See, now when he answers, we'll see if he is...
Did he cut off?
Yeah, we did.
That energy wind just knocked you right off the phone.
Well, that seemed impolite of it to do that. But, it's,
how rude! Mid-sentence,
well,
even.
Again, we're energetic creatures. What can I say? But I do think there is a kind of it happens.
Yeah.
That it's more than the individual. There's a collective, and the beauty of it is that when you decide to kind of merge in that collective, because you could, psychologically, you could say, oh, it's my space, and I need to own my space, and I need to be the rock star, and you all just here support me. I'm not in that space, and I know Bill's not in that space either. And so because we're more like, in a way, kind of team-oriented with that show, I think it does have a different kind of vibe to it.
It does, and that's what I was going to say, because in this field, in the field that you guys are in, lately it has, maybe the last 6, 7 years, 8 years, it has gotten so competitive. And
it's not just been the last 6 or 7 years. It's been that way for 30.
I mean, it's really been pronounced. I mean, where people are really outspoken about this competition between everybody on who's better than so-and-so, which I think is ridiculous because everybody has their own forte. But the way that you all work, to me, is incredible because, again, the energy is so palpable and you all work together as a team, and there's nothing about a one-upsman when you're all together. It is you're all there for the same purpose. And
I think a lot of that's a form of respect you have for each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, like as an athlete or a musician, if you know the other people can play at your level, you're sort of on the same page right from the get-go. And also there's an element of self-confidence. I'm pretty confident, there's no psychic's 98% accurate, and certain people are not going to with me, and I'm not always going to make sense all the time.
Yeah.
And there's no psychic that knows everything. But I'm pretty confident just in general. And I feel that certainly about Bell and Allie too. And because I think we do feel a sense that we don't have to prove so much,
right.
I think it allows us to sort of share and enjoy that sharing. I don't feel like I really have to prove anything at this point so much in a way that, somebody else might. And I think the competitive thing has been there for forever, for as long as I've been around. And it's unfortunate. And we can understand that, but I think really it is important to say, okay, what's our purpose in doing this?
Right.
Our purpose, I think, has to be based on love. I've talked about this. I know Bell's talked about this too. You have to have a love for the person you're working with. I do believe that that's true. I think you have to have a sense of generosity with your emotions. I think you have to be willing to sort of embrace it whatever way it comes out and not predefine how it's supposed to be. And I think if you can be in that space where you're accepting of the interchange, then I think the ego kind of goes to the back a bit. And right. I think that that's important. I believe it's important to be confident, but not pushy, if that makes sense.
Absolutely makes sense. And what I think is fun, too, is that I know this same kind of show has been tried on other networks. And I'm not putting anybody down, not putting any other networks down at all. But those shows have actually fallen by the wayside because yours is so successful, and I think it is because the camaraderie that you guys have here. We have a similar shows, not quite the same, but a similar one here, and they're successful for the same reason, that there's a partnership and there's a teamwork that goes on amongst the different readers, and they benefit actually from being with each other. And you guys do the same thing on Wheel of Psychics.
Well, I feel that certainly. Like you say, Allie and I have been together a billion times. We know each other backwards and forwards.
Mm-hmm.
But Bell is sort of a new experience for me, and it's a really beautiful experience for me. And I really enjoy, Bell, I'm going to give you a compliment. I really enjoy listening to Bell talk. She has a very kind of calming kind of energy.
Yes.
And I think we all have that kind of calming energy.
Yes.
And I think that because we have that one-on-one, we sort of share in that. So if you have somebody that's trying to be supportive, well, they're kind of supporting me too. So if Bell's being supportive of someone on the phone, I'm also soaking that up, like secondhand smoke, right? I'm getting some of that too.
Sure.
And I do think it's important that we share. That's the beauty of it. It's not elbowing for space. I think, we want to be supportive and allow the other one to shine. And, and if we are in the kind of the right frame of mind, our time to shine is going to be there too. We don't have to be on it, 24/7. there's plenty of space for everybody.
Right.
And I think it's also interesting that if we feel something as a support, we will type it to each other, which is really interesting if you think about it. Mm-hmm. Rather than go, oh, I saw that. We kind of want to acknowledge, this is, we trust each other, I think is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
And you know what I like to, and this is something, guys, that happens behind the scenes that you don't get to see. But what I've liked is, we're with each other in Skype, and we can see what one another is saying and whatnot. And it never fails, Andrew, that after one of us has done a reading, we're typing in there, great job, or wow, that was awesome. There's so much support for each other as psychics behind the scenes that just really makes me do worthwhile.
Yeah, and it has to be, again, it doesn't always work that way. And Zita, going back to what you're saying about the competition, I've been in some that weren't as much fun.
Yeah.
And I think it's, not everyone's personality is going to meld.
Right.
That's just a given in life. There's certain people, if we're in an office, we may like some and not like the others. That's always going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, just as a general rule of thumb, you try to be polite, and you try to be in a conciliatory space and a happy space. Good things are going to happen, and you're going to get along with more people. It doesn't take a rocket scientist or Sigmund Freud to figure that out. But a lot of people forget that, and we feel environments, sadly, where being civil to one another, a lot of that gets kind of thrown by the wayside.
It does.
And I think it is important into that space where we are polite to one another, and we do share with one another. I mean, it's interesting, this conversation is really about interaction with one another rather than anything psychic. It's about how we treat each other as people. Mm-hmm. And that's really the foundation of what I think makes it work. I mean, you have to be psychic or, there's nothing there. But, I mean, to me, that's kind of the down payment. I think being psychic is a small subset of really what goes on in the work that we do.
Right.
I mean, would you two agree with that?
Absolutely. In fact, while you were talking, GQ pipes in. GQ is my spirit guide, who kind of throws his opinion in there once in a while. And what he says is that when any person, as he puts it, I'll try to use his words, when any being chooses to go out in the public spectrum to do the work that you do, they do it to provide a service for other people. That people also includes those who are providing the service.
Yeah.
And that's what's being forgotten now, is that not only are you there to help the people that you help, but you're there to help the people in your own community of psychics and mediums, because you're all learning from each other.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I make no bones about it. I like to connect with people that are good at what they do. I listen to what they say. I don't want to say I try to mirror them, because that's no longer true.
Right.
But I do try to understand there's a kind of a subtext to it, if you want. There's like a beat behind the beat. Mm-hmm. And I try to get into that lower beat, and I try to understand the personality. And in a way, I try to understand the rhythm, because there is a rhythm that happens. A lot of it's staying calm. There's a lot of pressure, if you think about it, that you could fall prey to in these types of radio shows. Sometimes you're dealing with very serious issues. You're dealing with crises. They are genuinely upset. They're genuinely frightened. They need us to really understand that and empathize with that. And, so when you think about the magnitude of what you're really doing, if you really think about it, you have to have a serious attitude towards it. And how we deal with that individually, the psychology of us, that's the thing I really pay more attention to than, if they're a medium or if they